Hello, everybody. It's Bill. It's that college football guy here with the video talking part 3 of the AAC, the American Prediction Series. We're talking the T's here. Temple, Tulane, and Tulsa. It's just the way it goes down, folks. The way we're doing here. Some of these here are... let's just get into it rather than just doing the song and dance, shall we? All right. Temple, starting off with them. 3-9 last year. Not a good year. Stan Drayton is their head coach. He's been 6-18 in the last 2 seasons, 3-9 both years. Is he on the hot seat? Right now, I'd have to say no, unless they went like 1-9, 1-11. But I think he get one more here. His biggest problem is your starting quarterback left. He transferred out. So who's your starting quarterback? We got Forrest Black, or is it gonna be Rutgers transfer? Is it Evan Swan? Evan Swan. Who's gonna be the starting quarterback there? Temple, offensive line's a complete overhaul. I mean, just it's like one thing about Stan Drayton. He was a running backs coach. He runs a running back focused offense, and they could not run block. So he went out in the portal and got new players to help him with that. Will that be successful? We'll see. Defensively, there's a lot of transfers all over the place. Biggest cause of concern defensively is the secondary. 2 picks last year. 2 for the entire season. That ain't going to cut it. You have got to improve on that. So at the start of the season here, excuse me, they start off the season on the road in Norman at Oklahoma. Yeah, you heard the Big 12 prediction, SEC predictions, Big 12. SEC predictions, yeah, that's a big fat L. Then on the road at Navy, this was covered in part 2, that's also an L. Home against Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina in with their problems. They got more talent than Temple. That's another L. Now you're home against Utah State. Utah State had coaching problems, changes there. You have turnover players hitting the portal. It's cross-country travel. So I think that helps Temple, and you're going to get your first win of the year beating Utah State at home. Then you're at home again against Army. Defensively, you can't handle them. This was covered in part 1. You're losing to Army. Then you're on the road at UConn. This game for me was a coin flip. As I looked at the roster going like, okay, this is kind of a coin flip here. Who's going to win this? You're on the road at UConn. I'm giving you the loss. Then you get the bye. You're at home against Tulsa. Home against Tulsa. You lost to them by 22 on the road last year. Both teams have a bye the week before. Tulsa has their own problems. We're going to get into that. Both of you are kind of in the same boat. They're a little bit worse off than you are. And with both of you having the bye, I'm the only reason on here. I looked at everything being even though you lost to them last year. So who's at home? You are. I have you beating Tulsa at home. On the road at East Carolina, I covered this in part 1. You're losing East Carolina. Then you get your second bye. Everybody has 2 byes this year. On the road at Tulane, I don't care if it's a new coaching staff. I don't care anything else. They have too much talent. You're losing on the road at Tulane. Home against FAU. Plus you're on the road with them. Home against FAU. I covered this in part 1. You're losing to Florida Atlantic. On the road, we're going up against UTSA. You lost to them by 15 at home last year. Now you're going to face them on the road. That's another loss. Home against North Texas. I covered this in part 2. You're losing that game. So Temple finishes a whopping 2-10. 1-7 in conference. Yikes. Now we get the green wave of Tulane. Finished 11-3 last season. They lost to Virginia Tech in the Military Bowl. Forgot to mention something here. I have Temple going 2-10. The Vegas has their win total at 2.5, so I'm not far off. Tulane, I said lost to Virginia Tech in the Military Bowl. Their Vegas has their win total at 7.5. John Sumrall comes in, the former head coach of Troy, because Willie Fritz left Tulane to go become the head coach of Houston. A lot of players left Tulane to go in the portal. Ty Thompson comes in as appears to be the odds-on favorite to be the starting quarterback. He transferred in from Oregon. The offensive line, some players are back. There's transfers like everybody else, but it's a bit undersized, based upon what we've been hearing about from early predictions here. Is that going to be a factor? Most likely, but we'll see. The secondary, A lot of players left, so this is pretty much a complete rebuild. How well can they all blend together? It's going to be an issue. All right. Shall we get into this? As I'm roasting in this truck. You start the season at home against Southeast Louisiana. You're winning that game. Home against the following week against Kansas State. I covered that in the Big 12 predictions. You're getting a loss for Kansas State. On the road at Oklahoma. You and Temple just like doing this? So you're on the road at Oklahoma. If you watch the SEC predictions, you know the fact they're losing at Oklahoma. I know it's a stunner. I know. And you're on the road at Louisiana. Louisiana, even though you have your issues with your new staff and everything else, you still have more talent than Louisiana. You're beating Louisiana on the road. Then you're at home against South Florida. I looked at this as a coin flip. South Florida is going to be better. You're taking a step back, but you're at home, so I'm giving you the win against USF. Then you're on the road at UAB. You beat them by 12 at home last year. I think you're going to beat them again, and that's another win. So you're 4-2 in your first bye. Then you're on the bye at home against Rice. I covered this in part 2. You get the win there. Then on the road at North Texas. I covered this also in part 2. That one, unfortunately, you're going to lose on the road. Then you're on the road at Charlotte. Cover this in part 1. You're beating Charlotte. Home against Temple. Literally just did this. You're getting the win there. And then on the road against Navy. Cover that in part 2. That's also a win. And you get your second bye and only have one game after your bye. And that's at home against Memphis. I covered this in part 2. Memphis is just a little bit better than you. And you're losing to Memphis at home. So you Tulane finishes the season 8-4. 6-2 in conference. And lastly, we have the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. 4-8 last year. I mean, Kevin Wilson, this is going to be year 2 of him at Tulsa. How can he improve? Can things improve here? Right now, again, another situation. Who's your starting quarterback? And I believe it's Cooper Lagasse, formerly of Utah State. Is going to be the odds-on favorite to be the starting quarterback. Running back's okay. Offensive line is a complete rebuild. A lot of work to do there. It's a lot of It's bad. Defensively, secondary, everybody else's transfers in. We get that, but there was no pass rush last year. Are any of the players going to come in and going to actually contribute to that? We're going to find out. So we start off with home against Northwestern State to start your schedule. Yeah, that's a win. And you're on the road at Arkansas State. I looked at Arkansas State because I'm going to be doing the Sun Belt videos in a couple weeks, but I've already got most of my notes done. Preliminary, I'm still going to finalize a few things. Arkansas State has a kind of in the similar boat as Tulsa. So I looked at this as a coin flip game. Who's at home? Arkansas State's at home, so you're going to catch the loss at Arkansas State. Then you're at home against Oklahoma State. I covered this in the Big 12 predictions. You're losing to Oklahoma State. On the road at Louisiana Tech. You are on the road, and normally that would give you the L, but you have a little bit more talent than they do, so I'm going to give you the victory on the road at Louisiana Tech. Then you're on the road at North Texas. I covered this in part 2. You're losing at North Texas. Then you're home against Army. I covered this in part 1. You're losing to Army. Then you get the bye. Out of the bye, on the road at Temple. I literally just covered this. You're losing on the road at Temple. Home against UTSA. They just have more talent than you do. You're losing at home against UTSA. On the road at UAB. This was a coin flip game for me. Who's at home? You're on the road at UAB. You're losing that game. East Carolina, I covered this in week 1. A lot of people are surprised at this, but I have you beating East Carolina. I covered that in part 1. Then you get your second bye on the road at South Florida. You're on the road. They have more talent. You're losing to South Florida. You finish the season at home against FAU, Florida Atlantic. I covered that in part 1. You're losing to Florida Atlantic to finish the season 3-9. 3-9. 1-7 in conference. There's a lot to be going through here. I mean, is Temple underperforming? Somebody asked me that. Some of these schools, I think they're underperforming. Temple is Temple. They're not exactly known for having, winning 7-8 games a year. They're not known for that. When they get bowl eligible, it's an event. I mean, that's not against Temple, but that's what it's been the last 10, 15 years. Tulane is obviously going to take a step back with Willie Fritz gone. How well's the new regime that came in from Troy with John Summerall as head coach? How well is that going to translate over? So instead of the Sun Belt, you're now in the American. And for Tulsa, Kevin Wilson comes in. They have a lot of work to do there. I mean, he publicly made a comment that they don't do NIL. So anybody who's got any talent is getting out as fast as they can. So he is going to have a lot of turnover. And some people have had him even having Tulsa winning 7 games this year. I have them going 3-9. Vegas says their win total at 4.5. I just don't, with the amount of turnover they're going to keep having until they decide to do NIL or to do revenue sharing, they're going to be in major trouble. But I've done enough talking. Tell me what you think about all this in the comments. So thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't done already, do me a favor. Smash the like button, hit the thumbs up, so I put my pen away. It helps with the algorithm, helps the video be seen by more people. Comment on the video. Again, recap. I got Temple going 2-10, 1-7 in conference. I got Tulane going 8-4, 6-2 in conference. And I've got Tulsa going 3-9, 1-7 in conference. Where am I right? Where am I wrong? Somebody's going to disagree with something. I know that. So why don't you let me know about this down in the comments. Share the video if you want to. And if you haven't done it already, do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, check out some of the other videos I've done. And if you like them, hey, subscribe to the channel. You know, on the road to 700, slowly but surely on that road to 1,000 to make some things happen. So again, thanks everybody for watching. Hope everybody has a great day. It is hot in here. Got to turn the thing on as I want to get this video in while I can. Ooh, boy, it is hot down here in Alabama. Yeah, thermostat when I read outside was about 120. It's not that hot. It's about 100 something. But with the humidity, it makes it tons of fun. So thanks everybody for watching. Everybody's having a great day. Be safe out there, and please be good to each other.